Hi everyone, my name's Belinda. I am a crafter living in Australia. I've been following the Flosstube community for a little while, particularly Elizabeth Ann Can Stitch, but a few others as well. And I've been inspired to show off a bit of my stitching to see if I can get some feedback from people, to see what they think of my work and to encourage me to keep going with my crafting. I do have a little bit of a habit of leaving whips hanging for quite a while between you working on them. And one of the things I found recently is that cross stitch was something that I picked up when I was quite young. I was probably about 12, 13 when my auntie gave me my first little kit that she had to try out. I made a horrible mess of it, but I learned a lot along the way. My next door neighbour was an avid cross stitcher, and I picked up a lot of things from her and started to learn a lot more. But over the years I've picked it up and put it down and picked it up and put it down, and then found I kind of got a little bit bored, always working on the Ada cloth, and kind of felt like it wasn't challenging me. So across my time I've moved between my sewing, quilting, cross stitching, embroidery. So when as a child I was taught by my mother and my grandmother to sew, to knit, and a little bit of hand stitching, and then as I grew, as I said, I went into cross stitch, and then when I had my children, I was looking for an activity where I could have a little bit of downtime. So I found a local craft group which had a creche, and I was able to go for a couple of hours once a week. The kids went into the creche, and I would get time to sit and stitch and have something for myself. At the time we were living away from where we normally live. I didn't have much family support, and the ones that were there were quite a way away and had their own families to worry about, so it was just nice to have that little bit of downtime. So I got into embroidery in that group, and that then led me into quilting. I found a embroidered quilt pattern that I really wanted to make, but I didn't have the quilting skills. So after the birth of my daughter, I took up a quilting class, learnt to quilt, and now I've got all of these hobbies. But as I said, because I'm busy, I'm a mum of three, and I work as well, so I do get distracted and put activities down, and things will stay as works in progress for quite some time. Just to show you some previous work, I haven't got a lot here that I can grab quickly, but this one here I made about 23 years ago. I made it for he was my fiance at the time, but now my husband, and he had a dog, a little Westie like this named Beasley, and so I made this for him and had it framed for his birthday while we were engaged. Close up. So that was quite sweet. Excuse my dog barking in the background. Not the same dog. Then I made this one. This one was actually made a little bit earlier. I was about 17 when I made this one, maybe 18, somewhere around there. And I subscribed to a magazine called Cross Stitch Magic, and so every month you would get a magazine and a little kit as well. And this cat pattern came from that magazine. So I worked quite diligently on it, and pink, purple and yellow were my favourite colours at the time. Still like them. It does burn a little bit of a hole in my brain that when I cross stitched this one, I did the back stitching with 2 strands instead of 1. Didn't realise until after I'd had it framed what mistake I'd made. I was obviously still quite young and inexperienced, but I'm not going to undo it. I still love it. I still think it looks quite pretty. This one hangs up in our laundry. I've got a bundle of other little works here that I've done over the years. I am a little bit guilty of finishing things and then putting them aside thinking I'll finish them into a completed project later, and then I never do it. However, I've got a little pin cushion here, which I did out of that same cross stitch magazine. And this is where we go into the examples of stitching that I've not actually finished off. So we've got a little teddy bear which should be pressed and framed and all the little things. Another one which was in a frame but fell out. This one I only finished last week. It's supposed to go into a card. I haven't mounted it into the card yet, but it is a geisha lady, geisha girl. Then we have another card, a little shopping girl. So I think one of my goals with doing these videos is to make me accountable to actually get these finished into a form where, for example, for the cards, I could actually pick it up and give it to someone as a gift because they're ready, whereas at the moment they sit in the cupboard and every time I go to grab a birthday card, I don't grab these because they're not finished. But this one's a jello. Some little ballerina girls, a wedding cake, handbag, so there's a lot of these, ice cream. These ones I like, the little kits. I've got a bundle of them. I've probably got about 50 kits sitting in a tub over here. And I find them good though for sitting on the train. So I catch the train to work. It's about 20 minutes each way, there and back. And it's just enough of a project that I can grab it out, stitch it in hand without having to have lots of equipment and carry lots of stuff. So I get through quite a lot of these things, and I'm also quite conscious of having lots of big works that I then don't know what to do with. So there's only so much you can frame and put on the wall or have made into pillows or whatever it is. But these little cards and things I find quite nice. I have given some of them away where I've actually finished them. A shell, a pots, and a little, I've only finished this one quite recently too, a little town. So that's all the little kits that I got from those magazines. The other thing I have I have subscribed to the Disney cross stitch quite recently, and I've just been collecting them all and happily having them sit there, and I haven't actually worked on them. So I finally pulled them out and started to work on them again recently. Haven't gotten very far, but I'm really conflicted over these ones. I love the artwork of them. There's about 10 framed pieces that you can make. So I'm quite a Disney girl. I am also very much into Wizard of Oz. So I've been toying with the name of what I'm going to call this, and I have been thinking about Follow the Needle and Thread in reference to Follow the Yellow Brick Road from the Wizard of Oz. Still deciding. But this Disney magazine, I'm not loving the Aida cloth that they've given us. It's very hard and canvassy, and it's a big Aida. I think it's 11 count Aida, so it's quite big. The threads that they've provided are not very nice. They're quite fluffy, and as you work them, they kind of get a bit messy. So I've done a chunk of the first one, and I've only done this in the last couple of weeks. But I'm thinking about not finishing it and actually buying some linen to do it on, and trying to do a thread conversion to do it on a different media. So this is the first sampler, or little one. So with each magazine you get a different character to stitch. The patterns aren't fabulously written. They're the way that they've asked you to start it from the center isn't like a normal center point. And when I first started stitching it, I actually started in the completely wrong spot, got all the way through Tigger and halfway through Tumbo before I realized actually it was not going to make it, the fabric, it was going to be off the side of the fabric. So I had to pull it all out and restart it. And even now I've done a lot more, but I'm really worried about how close it is to the edge of the fabric. I'm thinking that even when I get it framed, it's going to be super tight. So I'm still quite conflicted about this one as to what I'm going to do with it. Anyway, watch this space, we'll see. Some older projects that I've got on the go. This one I started when I was pregnant with my eldest. He has just turned 19 and I was going to do this for his nursery. It's still not finished. Anyway, he had a teddy bear themed nursery, and then I figured actually it's alright, I can use the picture for my sewing room because it's a really sweet little picture of teddy bears in a sewing room with a singer and bolts of thread and bolts of fabric and reels of thread and so on. Some garment patterns hanging up the tuck there, so it's quite sweet. And I'm so close. Seriously, I don't know why I won't just sit down and do it. And I think it's because I hate backstitching. I find that the most tedious and boring part of my work. But my phone interrupted us and stopped recording, so I have to just try and edit this a little bit. I'm going to be upskilling myself here because I don't know how to do that yet, but I'm going to work it out. Anyway, so I was showing you this lovely piece. So close, just need to finish the back stitching and then get it framed. And I think I will pay for a framer to do this one because I've worked on it for such a long time and it was quite a big piece. The next one that I have in progress is also been going for quite a while, probably about, or not long after this one, so probably about 15, 16 years. And it is a tree skirt for your Christmas tree. Quite a sweet little piece. It's not little, it's big. I pull it out every Christmas and decide to do a little bit more work on it. Never get very far. Let's see if I can hold it up for you. There we go. So I've done 2 of the teddy bears, 3 teddy bears. Started on the 4th. One thing I'm learning is that I should be back stitching as I go. So as I finish a section of the cross stitch, I should do the back stitching so that I don't have a heap of back stitching to do at the end, which is my least favourite part. The next piece I've had going for probably 5 or 6 years. I started it when my daughter, who is now 15, had a pink bedroom and a lovely white bedroom suite and all the rest of it, and I was going to do her this lovely little fairy castle, either to do it as a pillow, sort of similar to what they've got there, or frame it and put it on the wall. I got so close. I've done so much of it, but then put it away, and now she doesn't want it anymore, which is still fine with me because I actually still really love it, and I'll probably make it into a pillow or something and just have it myself somewhere. It's a really pretty little castle. I fell over because at the bottom there is a heap of white stitching, and I was finding it really boring. Stitching white onto white fabric is insanely boring. But it's so close. My fabric project bags, I was inspired by Elizabeth Ann to make these, seen them everywhere, loved them, ended up making quite a few. So this is not the first one I made, but one of them. So using up some fat quarters that I've had sitting there for quite a while that I love. I just don't seem to use them in quilts. They don't seem to go with a lot of the stuff that I do in my quilting, but I thought they were perfect for these, and they make me so happy. So I made 4 project bags, and I've got a bundle more half made. I'm just waiting on some more vinyl to come in the mail. The thing that's gotten me back into cross stitching at this point in time was that I had a dream probably about 2 months ago, and it was a really vivid and detailed dream, and I dreamt about this embroidered 3D Tudor style palace, doll's house, and it was so intricate in my mind, and I woke up and I was really inspired and started scrolling straight away on my phone to see if I could find any patterns for that kind of thing. Didn't come up with anything, but I did find this book, which is Home Sweet Home. So I think I'm going to have to do it soon, but I don't know how I'm going to fit it all in because I've got all these whips that I need to finish. What I do also find is this cross stitch, and that's where I got back into cross stitch. So this was on an Etsy store. It's a Victorian house. It came with 2 patterns, very similar, but one had this room was open and one it was closed. A few other details were different. The turret was a bit different at the top. So this is made by Studio Jamong. Haven't gotten very far because it's massive. I never go into things half-hearted. I have to always do the biggest thing that there possibly is. But I've already learned a few things. So I'm only doing it on 14 count Aida because it is so detailed and big. I didn't want to have to destroy my eyes to do it. But I have learnt in this about parking threads. So there's lots of things about cross stitch that I didn't know. So I didn't know that you could use other things other than Aida. I didn't know about parking. I didn't know about all the different threads other than DMC. So I'm learning a lot and I'm really, really loving it. So I haven't gotten far, but that's the center room. Not far at all. It'll get there one day. Might take me 40 years. And that's another one of my project bags. This one has pink on the inside and then like a paisley brown on the back. And then I decided I would really like to try stitching on linen. So as I said, I got a bit bored stitching on Aida, walked away from cross stitch for quite some time, found it a bit too paint by numbers boring, but have had it completely flipped on its head recently as I've been learning all these new things. So I bought some linen from a local craft shop, and I bought the Hands-on Designs block party in Meow, and I've made heaps of progress. This is probably the most diligently I've been cross stitching for quite some time, learning all sorts of new things, parking threads example, and I've made quite a lot of progress. The fish bones down the bottom there are supposed to be white. I started stitching them in the called for white, so I'm doing this on a 28 count, I can't remember, I'll have to put it up on the screen if I can work out how to do that. It says Wygart, 28 count, colour was ecru, I know that. But the white, the called for white DMC just blended into the fabric. You couldn't even see them. So I went to this kind of light brown colour. I'm still not convinced that I love the colour of the fish bones, but it was better than the white. So I've really been enjoying working on this one. And that's my third project bag. Again, in fabrics that I love, but just couldn't seem to make work in a quilt. So thought it would be perfect in a project bag. Getting back into projects, I have been doing some shopping. So the first thing I did when I realised that linen was a thing, so I'm clearly behind the 8 ball, is ordered a pack that has a pattern on linen. I don't know if it was a very wise decision. We'll find out. But I really liked the pattern. So it's a kit called Paris. It's a pillow by Lucas S. So it's come with some Zweigart linen and I can't remember what count it is, 25 count, and anchor threads, which I didn't even know that anchor was still made. My mum used to stitch with anchor when I was a little girl, and still had them when I was working through my cross stitch era. But I've never seen them for sale anywhere, so I was quite surprised to see that they were still around. I bought myself a couple of different linens. So we went to our local needle and thread store, cross-stitch store, whatever you want to call it, and I had a little bit of a spend with them. So I bought a few different linens. So the one that I showed you that I worked on the cats, I bought some WitchElt 40 count champagne, and they had some remnants. So this one is a Perman linen 28 count in Monet blue. And this one is a 28 count linen, not sure of the brand, it doesn't say, just in natural. I thought I could use those for something. And this one is a 32 count linen in a really pretty yellow. I also grabbed some patterns while I was there. So this one I've seen a few people stitching and I really liked it. And it is called Tudor Bee by the Blue Flower. I love that. Can't wait to finish some other stuff so I can start it. And I bought a Mirabilia because I can never just go for the little projects. I have to always do the big thing and then I never get anything finished. So I bought this lovely Mirabilia playing a violin. So I played the violin as a kid and my son played the violin for quite a number of years when he was little. So I thought that was quite appropriate for us. Not made a start on those yet. I'm trying to hold myself back before I start on new things. I also bought a Q-snap at the same time and some thread keepers and thread drops, that kind of thing. Still trying to work out how to use the Q-snap properly, and still playing with using a frame versus stitching in hand. I've been stitching in, I started off stitching in hand as a kid, and that was the only way I really knew how to stitch, and then got told that I should be using a frame because it makes your stitch more consistent, so on, stops your work from skewing, that kind of thing. And I got used to it, but I had bad habits because I would start sewing something and then walk away and leave it and wouldn't take it out of the hoop, and ended up with stains on my fabrics and so on. And I've been working with playing around doing some stitching in hand again to see if I prefer it again, and working to, rather than doing the like the push and pull sort of sewing, but the sewing in hand method I think is working a lot better for me. But I've still got the Q-snap to give it a go, see if I can get that to work. As far as what I'm working on and my goals for the moment, I did come across wipgo and made myself a little bingo board. I've crossed off all the ones that have already been called for this year, so I've only got the available numbers that are left for the rest of the year. And so this month's numbers were for me to work on my meow and on finishing my teddy bears, because it's so close, honestly, and we're nearly at the end of September. So if I could just spend a little bit of time working on this, I might actually finish it. That would be so amazing. Okay, I think that's everything that I had. Please let me know in the comments if you've got any feedback on my stitching or any ideas on how I can keep myself on task and focusing. I've got lots and lots of other projects that I can show you along the way. I dare not throw the camera around and show you the other side of the room because it is disgusting. I've got that much on the go. But yeah, really enjoying being back into my, I'm calling it my cross stitch era. And yeah, really enjoying it. So thank you for joining me, and I will endeavour to do these videos probably, we'll see, weekly maybe. We'll see how we go. Thank you everyone, have a great week.